I had a few more questions actually still while we're on our stream. And
this one here, just to finish up on this one,
sorry,
was just avoid the leading questions, avoid the loaded questions, avoid the closed-ended questions.
Yeah.
Don't ask them, why haven't you done this, or why haven't you thought about this? What other things could we think of? What other ways could we do something? Make sure that you're opening people up instead of closing them down when you're asking those questions, so that there's an opportunity to bring up new ideas, and that there's safety. There's always safety in open-ended questions, especially when we're open to any answer. Because when you ask an open-ended question, you have to be open to everything. Because then the following closed, the convergent question that is, okay, we had those 10 ideas. Which one or two are the one that the customer would be most interested in? So it's those open-ended questions, those divergent questions help build the safety, so we can ask the convergent questions. Okay, let's get it down to one or two to work on today.
Well, you must have read my mind, because the next question I wanted to ask was all about. Well, I'll put it up on screen, but really about these questions and where you have conflicting ideas and disagreements, and you've got a team that's really discussing these ideas, and you want to create a safe environment to do that. So how can a mentor use these sorts of questions in this environment?
This is definitely in the book, and the answer is to stop and remind them that it's not what we think, it's what does the customer think. So first redirect to, okay, what would the customer say? And if we don't know, how do we go find out? And then if there's disagreement on the team about what the customer means, then it just comes down to a democratic process. Okay, we've got two competing ideas here. I don't know which one of them is the right one. Maybe neither one. Which one are we going to work on first? And that also helps build safety too. Hey, we're going to vote on it. One idea is going to be first. And if that one doesn't work, then we're going to go to the second idea, because maybe that was the right one. We just don't know, but we're going to pick a direction. We're not going to get stuck here having an argument about whose idea is better, because they're equally likely. We're just going to start somewhere. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do that one if the first one doesn't work. That's it.
Well, that's a really good way of addressing that whole field, because when you were when your connection dropped earlier, I was talking about a key thing that 12 Ronnies help people do in launching businesses is all about validating ideas, making sure that there's demand for the idea that you want to launch, and it's not intuitive. Most people like to build and create things, not necessarily look for customers straight out of the starting gate. So in your experience, what are the most effective questions to help teams validate their ideas, and longer term when they're scaling a little bit, to ensure product market fit?
Well, the first one is, what problem are we here to solve? What, and sometimes that's not even talking about the customer and the problem. Sometimes the problem is, hey, we need to learn about something. Hey, there might be a problem out there. We need to learn if there is one. So first the question is, why are we here? Setting that up right away. And then, okay, then who is our customer? Who's the customer of what we're trying to do? What's our theory of customer value? And and then what do we need to learn all that stuff? And then later on, as they have all that and they're scaling, it comes down to how will what do we know about the customer?
Yeah.
Their consumption of solutions in that sort of scaled space. So what does it need to look like for them to be able to access that value proposition, not in our low fidelity version, but in a high fidelity version, in a repeatable, scalable space.
Yeah, no, and in the scaling side, so the difference when you're looking for a product market fit, you've already got data of early adopters, you've already looked at demand for certain customer segments. So I guess the questions become different, because you have data to start to base some questions on, whereas at the very beginning you have a limited amount of data and a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, those two stages, kind of before and after the chasm, is before the chasm, it's value proposition innovation, it's product innovation. But after the chasm, it kind of becomes marketing innovation. How do we get this to people? How do we make people aware of it on a large scale? Because initially you probably had 20, 30, 50 carefully procured, sourced customers that you went out and got in person. So then the questions come down to how do we make that happen on a mass market scale? How do we get customers that haven't met us before?
Yeah.
Because I've worked with teams that had great success working with people they knew and through contacts and Facebook and that sort of thing. But as soon as we went out into the marketplace, they couldn't get anybody. They couldn't get any traction.
Yeah.
So how do we reach those people? How do we use data that we have? How do we access data out in the marketplace? How are other companies doing this that might be in a similar space or even competitors?